Hey, welcome to the Elle Russ Show, where we explore ways to get healthy, wealthy, and wise. With a combination of guest interviews and solo episodes, I hope you will be inspired and motivated to become the best of whatever you are. I'm Elle Russ, #1 best-selling author and subject expert with over a decade of helping thousands of people across the globe. Visit my website, elleruss.com, to learn more about free guides, masterclasses, online courses, and more. Enjoy the show. Hey everyone, today I am going to talk about body temperature and hypothyroidism. So this is a common problem. Often it is the case where when someone is hypothyroid, they have extremely low body temperature. Not only will they have a low basal body temperature, meaning the temperature like right upon waking before you're even throwing the covers off of you, like before you even get out of bed, like just that moment when you've woken up, that they will have a lower than normal basal body temperature. And then, of course, in the afternoon, often never reach 98.6. So in my experience, when I was hypothyroid and I went through 2 bouts, if you're not aware of my work and this is the first time you're listening to this, please visit elleruss.com and learn about my thyroid expertise, my book, my course, and everything related to this. There's so much more information on this. I am piecing out just an element here to sort of describe it further and why does this happen? So, first of all, hypothyroidism is a treatable condition. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I don't care if you've been to the Mayo Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic, and you've been struggling for 10, 15 years, okay? A lot of people, those type of people have been my clients. This is a fixable situation. It just unfortunately is the case that 99% of the doctors out there are uninformed about it because they just didn't learn certain things in medical school. And the doctors that are in the know are usually the functional doctors, functional medicine, doctors of osteopathic medicine, anti-aging doctors. They're not all worth their weight of the shingle that they place upon their door saying they're integrative or functional or whatever, but they are usually a little bit more in tune and take more time to investigate. And they have come to conclusions that other doctors who are run through the general insurance system don't have the time to go research because they're too busy. So, thyroid hormones play a crucial role in a lot of processes, but today we're just going to focus on the body's metabolism and body temperature because that is really how this goes. It affects regulating body's metabolism, that affects various physiological processes, including body temperature. So, how does this happen? All right, so thyroid hormone T3 specifically, and in general, the whole feedback loop acts as the body's sort of metabolic regulators. You can kind of look at it that way. They help control the rate at which, cells convert nutrients into energy, right? So in hypothyroidism, the deficiency of these hormones, but particularly T3, which is why when you're hypothyroid, you usually have a low T3, free T3 result. So in hypothyroidism, this deficiency of T3 will slow down the body's metabolic rate. Okay. Now, heat production. All right. So that's reduced metabolism. Then you have heat production. So metabolism generates heat as a byproduct. So the heat production helps maintain the body's temperature within this narrow range, usually around 98.6 in the afternoon. And in the morning, we're somewhere between 97.7 and 98.2. Usually on the 97.7-ish side. And so when metabolism decreases due to the low thyroid hormones, there is less heat generated by the cells, and this leads to a drop in body temperature. So then we have impaired thermoregulation. So the body has a complex system called thermoregulation that helps maintain a stable internal temperature. Right. This has like interactions between hypothalamus. It's a part of the brain. So it's like interactions between the brain, various organs, blood vessels, sweat glands, like the whole process. So thyroid hormones influence this process by affecting the brain portion, that hypothalamus's temperature regulating kind of situation. And so when you're hypothyroid, this whole system can become less efficient. And it leads to major difficulty in maintaining a normal body temperature, even in the summer. And that's why When I was hypothyroid, I was like 96 degrees in the middle of summer in the afternoon. Like that's insane, right? But the body is struggling. And also, just a side note, we have a certain temperature as humans because that's where our bodies need to be at for all of the processes to work the way they were meant to work. So when your temperature is off too, now there are other problems that are being created by the hypothyroidism, right? So, and I always talk about this. Hypothyroidism in and of itself isn't like causing a direct issue. It's the fact that it's the master gland and it is in charge of the production and regulation of your sex hormones, right? It's in charge of your, right, metabolism, your thermoregulation, your body temperature. So, and a lot of other things. So when any of these things break down, then the things that are affected by that inefficiency comes into play. And now you've got a whole bunch of symptoms that can be just relieved if you fix the thyroid problem. So anyway, as a result of all of these things, that's why people feel cold all the time, especially in their hands and feet. Now, right now, as I speak with you, I am not hypothyroid anymore because I take a daily dose of thyroid hormones that are right for me in the right combination and the right doses. But like my hands and my feet are colder than my body right now. If I were to shake your hand, you might be like, "Oh, your hand's cool." Well, I'm recording this in morning. It's a little chilly out. I'm wearing flip-flops. I'm in California, even though it's like maybe it's 60 degrees, like a little chilly in the morning. And I'm not hypothyroid and I'm not worried about it because I'm not having an internal chill. Do you know what I mean? Like my body is not chilled. And if I were to take my temperature right now, it would be normal for this time of day. So you don't want hot hands and feet. Okay. So, everyone, so I don't want you to be like, well, my hands are a little bit cold right now. It's like, yeah, okay. But do you have any other symptoms? Right. And do you feel internally cold? Oh, I gotta get a sweater. That's the kind of cold. Not, right now I'm not suffering. My body is warm, but like my hands and feet are cooler and colder, as they should be. A sign of hyperthyroidism, like overactive or too much T3, would be hot hands and feet. Um, like I mentioned, humans have an average afternoon body temperature of 98.6 Fahrenheit. So, although our bodies go through fluctuations in the temperature throughout the day, illness, weather, etc., that internal thermostat is pretty much set to 98.6, but you're not usually there right in the morning. It's a gradual process. That's why there's a basal body temperature. And that is a temperature that's measured with literally, this is how it works. The thermometer is next to the bed. You are asleep. The alarm goes off. You don't get out of bed to pee. You don't sit up. You don't lift the covers up. Nothing. You reach over and grab the thermometer and you stick it on your tongue. That's your basal body temperature. It should be between 97.7 and 98.2 Fahrenheit. If it isn't, then that's a sign of hypothyroidism if it's much lower. And also, if it is at 98.2 every morning and you're on thyroid hormone replacement, check your other vitals, such as pulse and everything else, because perhaps you're on too much T3, and that's why you're waking up with a warmer than normal body temperature. When I was hyperthyroid, because I at one point was on too much T3, one of the indications was my resting pulse and also the basal body temperature was too high. It was like 98.3 every morning, and that's too high. So the normal, again, 97.8 to 98.2, 97.7 to 98.2, something like that. And again, a healthy mid-afternoon body temperature, usually around 3 p.m. is like 98.6. Now, there are some caveats here, like did you just rip up a flight of steps and then take your temperature? Did you just take a hot shower? Did you just eat, drink, smoke? Like any of these things can affect body temperature. So when you're doing the afternoon body temperature, 3:30 p.m., you want to be like, I'm just sitting around, I've been doing nothing. You don't have to lay down, but you don't want to have just like done a workout, right? Or gotten out of the sauna. So, it's really obvious when it's you. You would, if you were that freezing cold internally, you would know it because there would likely be a lot of other hypothyroid symptoms present. And you can see a list of those on my website. Just go to elleruss.com, click on thyroid info or the thyroid masterclass. And on those landing pages, there should be a list of the like 30 to 40 symptoms. So, um, not only can we use it as a gauge for how one doses themselves with thyroid hormones to get to their optimal dose, temperature is definitely a part of that. It also is helpful for diagnosing hypothyroidism. I mean, look, I'm not diagnosing you. This is not medical advice. You're not going to diagnose yourself, but literally you could do this. You could do 5 days in a row of your basal and afternoon. And if it is really subpar and you have some hypo symptoms, then go get your blood work tested and it probably will confirm it. But I want to talk about one note for menstruating or ovulating women with body temperature when you take it. So here's how it works. So body temperature typically increases during the menstrual cycle, like at ovulation. Okay, this is like a body basal temperature shift. So, during the first half of the menstrual cycle, uh, this might be the best time to do the like 5 days of temps. After ovulation occurs, then, and again, this is, you can read, I'm shortening up a lot of information that I put in a blog post about this because I don't want to get too technical here and lose you. But because of these drops in hormones, blah, 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 then if you're in that window, the temperature can increase past that point. Now, the deviations, or I guess I should say, let's say you took your temperature 3 days in a row after ovulation occurred. It would seem higher than normal. However, the they shouldn't seem wonky, meaning it shouldn't be like high one day, low the next, and crazy differences in between. It should be just consistently a little bit higher. So if you really want to get the most accurate portrayal, and again, if your cycle is off, like it was when I was hypothyroid, then of course you may not be able to gauge this if you're having your period every 2 weeks. I get it, but usually this is gaugeable, and so I would also argue that if your period is so thrown off by hypothyroidism, you would have temperature issues such that it would be so obvious that even if you were ovulating, it wouldn't increase that much to be normal. But you do want to try to do it like, I think the best time would be if you have a regular 28-day cycle. Then let's say, of course, day one is the first day of your period. You might want to start taking temps around like day six. Like, day five, day six, start to get like a good 3 to 5 days of temps, basal and afternoon. So your body's temperature will shift with these hormonal changes, and it could, because of that little elevation in the second half of the cycle, that might not be the best time to consistently gauge your temperature if you're doing it every month for thyroid hormone dosing purposes or gauging hypothyroidism. Okay, so let's talk about thermometers. So we don't really have the old school mercury thermometers anymore because, of course, that's outlawed. But Geratherm is sort of this really bulky alternative to mercury thermometers. It's uncomfortable. You really have to hold it under your tongue. You sort of just can't hold it in there with your mouth. It's hard to see. Like I have to use reading glasses and my iPhone like magnifier on the camera to read the actual. You do have to shake it down. It's got a metal ball in there that looks like the old school mercury, and you do have to kind of shake it down to the beginning. I've gotten ones that are sort of DOA and didn't work on arrival. So what you can do is get a Geratherm thermometer, and you can also get a good digital thermometer. Um, are they all completely accurate? You're gonna have to test them and just sort of see. The one digital thermometer that I do like, it's called Kinsa, Kinsa. It has an app that goes along with it, which is helpful. Um, that's what I would do. I would just like, you can get both, compare, try one, see how it goes. It can be a little tricky. So that's really where hypothyroidism can give you this symptom. And again, it's gaugeable. You can actually check this at home consistently to see what's going out. Now, what about people who have like different sleep and work schedules? Like, let's say you're working the graveyard shift. So the basal temperature is still going to be taken upon waking whenever you wake. And then your afternoon temperature will be whatever that means for you. So if you normally wake up at 11 a.m., then maybe you test your quote afternoon temp around 7 p.m., right? And again, this is if you're consistently on another sort of non-normal schedule of human beings, the anti-circadian rhythm, graveyard shift, or some awkward hours. And I just want to close with saying, listen, this is gaugeable at home. You can do it consistently. And then it's gaugeable on your way up or out of hypothyroidism, however you decide to do that. So whether it's a natural approach to hypothyroidism, as that's working, when it's working, I mean, look, sometimes naturally trying to solve thyroid issues doesn't work, and that's okay because thankfully we have thyroid hormone replacement and other things that we can do. But let's say you are like successfully solving it naturally. You will also be able to gauge this. Your temperatures will increase, and then you'll start to have a normal body basal temperature. You won't feel like the cold person that always needs a sweater. So it's not only, but there's one problem with this, and that is when you're on a thyroid hormone replacement. Let's say you're on too much and it increases your temp such that it kind of mimics like being ill and you feel chills. So it's important that you gauge it. Feeling cold, like for example, another thing is before your period, if before menstruating. With a regular 28-day cycle, usually, those hormones are all dropping like towards the end before you start bleeding, and I'll feel extra chill or temperature sensitive during that time. Like, oh, I feel like sensitive, like, oh, I need like, a jacket, like I'm a little colder. That doesn't make me go, oh, I need more thyroid hormone right now. I'm hypothyroid. It just is like, hey, let's like, where are you at? Oh, yeah, it's the end. I'm almost getting my period. Yeah, I always felt a little bit like that. And other women do too. So you have to factor in some of these things. The important point is you can test it at home cheaply, so you don't have to be in the dark. I'm too cold. I think I'm still hypothyroid. Are you? Are you too cold? Are you too hot? Do you know? Test it, gauge it. All right, everyone, you can also go to elleruss.com/blog, type in hypothyroidism or thyroid, and a lot of blog posts will come up that give a little bit more geeky details on some of these things. If I'm talking about thyroid issues on a podcast, you can guarantee there might also be a sort of, sister blog post to it. And if you have any questions, please reach out and enjoy your day and know that all of this stuff is fixable when it comes to hypothyroidism. It's all manageable, right? You may not cure it, but you'll fix it to live in such a way that you're not hypo, like myself, right? There will either be a combination of thyroid hormones and a specific dosage that's right for you. It could be that plus low dose naltrexone. It could be that plus adopting certain detox protocols. Perhaps you have high mercury and that's causing a reverse T3 problem. Perhaps you have other issues or nutrient deficiencies that need to be optimized in order to solve this. So there are lots of avenues and components to this. That is why my ultimate thyroid course is 20 plus hours. There's a lot of bonus content, but that's 11 hours of tutorials from me, 4 hours from Dr. Forsman, and 3 to 5+ hours with other guest health experts. It's because there are so many nuances to dosing, to fixing this problem, but it's not complicated. And I know that sounds strange because anyone who's hypothyroid right now, who's trying to figure this out, and you don't know what I know, you're going to be like, no, it is confusing. I suggest you take my thyroid masterclass because when you do take it, you will go, oh, okay, I'm starting to see it. You may need to watch it a few times to really get the hang of it, where I explain and do a tutorial on the thyroid feedback loop. That should give you a good sense of what my course is like, my full-fledged thyroid course. But the thyroid masterclass is really worthwhile. You can go to elleruss.com/thyroid masterclass and check it out because it's important you get a comprehensive view of how this works so that you can sort of understand there might be other components involved that you haven't taken a look at. Just know that it's fixable, it's manageable, you do not have to suffer. Please don't waste any more time in life not fixing this because I'm telling you, reclaiming your health and being in vibrant health and feeling young and awesome and having mental and physical energy and feeling good temperature regulation in your body, uh, it having a proper metabolism is just amazing versus struggling with, I can't lose weight. I can't lose weight. I can't lose weight. It's like, yeah, but why? And if this is one of the reasons, then you fix this and you never have a problem again. You'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe I struggled all those years thinking somehow it was me. It may not be you. All right, everyone, I'll see you next week. Hey, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this show, I would so appreciate you leaving a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And to learn more about partner discounts on amazing products, visit elleruss.com/discounts.